That's Gary the captain, and this is not how he thought his Tuesday was going to turn out, being unceremoniously separated from his lower half by a temporal-infused death shield. But if we really want to know how this happened, we're going to have to go back to the start, and let's figure out what made this happen and how we came to this point. Hit it. What's up everybody and welcome back to the channel, and today we're looking at a bullet or firepower based trickster. This is a character that not only surprised me by how much fun it was to actually play this kind of build, but also at the same time by just how much damage it could push out. So I thought we could look at the skills and the class nodes and the mods that make this up and explain how it all fits together like we always do. And I suppose without any further ado, what I'd actually like to do is just go to the skills firstly and just discuss that. So obviously it's a bullet based build, so we're using twisted rounds, which is quite powerful on the trickster, and this is, you know, your bread and butter where your damage is going to be coming from. So right off the bat, we also need to discuss things like reload mechanism, like how do you keep your twisted rounds up the entire time, which we'll cover in the mods. But we also need to look at picking two skills that essentially complement twisted rounds and your delivery of that damage to basically the enemy. Now, hunter prey is super essential as a skill that needs to be included due to the fact that it's one of your reload mechanisms, which again we'll discuss just now. But then for your third skill, I believe that this is where there is some flexibility and where you have some room for experimentation. Now, of course, there's a legendary set that works around actually using slow trap, and essentially anything within the slow trap cannot be killed, meaning, you know, you and your allies cannot be killed. So that's definitely an option as well. Absolutely, Venator's knife is a good option as well to use, just due to the fact of how much additional damage you're able to deliver to the enemies that have that Venator's knife debuff on them, which again just helps you to drop bosses like super quickly. But then Time Rift is also a very rock solid option, and I simply picked the Time Rift because of two reasons. And one was, in my AP trickster build I used Venator's knife, and so I wanted to try something else. I didn't want to use exactly the same thing, and you know, I wanted a little bit of versatility, I would say. And secondly, I think that, in my opinion, Time Rift is overall the better skill to be able to use in a multiplayer or co-op situation. Venator's knife is super, you know, powerful in that, you know, situation as well. But Time Rift, especially the, you know, how you can configure it with mods to make it last longer and actually debuff enemies, is actually super awesome as well, for just allowing your allies to be able to deal more damage as well as disrupting bosses from essentially killing you or your allies. So that's basically the reason for the three skills, and of course then the mod configuration behind them. So at this point in time, let's jump back to the inventory and let's discuss weapons, and then we'll go to armor. So you want to be using a shotgun, because the point is that this build kind of works around close range damage, and because you're using hunter prey and jumping in on stuff, close range is where you're going to be dealing most of your damage from. Is there some universe where you could build this, you know, based on an LMG or a assault rifle, anything like that? Yeah, probably. And I'm not exactly sure how you know much that would affect the damage up or down, but it just kind of feels like shotguns is the natural fit for this, especially if you look at the class tree and how that comes together with the additional damage that you get from that. So shotguns it is then, right? The other thing that is also quite important is that you need an automatic shotgun. So yes, can you use a pump action shotgun like Anomaly Effigy? Absolutely, but a automatic shotgun is just going to be able to download much more damage into enemies in front of you than you can do with a pump action shotgun. And the name of the game here is also being able to not just take down one enemy at a time, but essentially spray down a whole group. Now, I have had some success with Anomaly Effigy with Concentration Blast and Fortress on there, but Death Shield just feels like the more natural fit for this. Could you use the Anemoy? Absolutely as well. But again, Death Shield allows you to already have its intrinsic buff of Fortress on there. And then for your second buff on the gun, you have some options. Now, I personally go for Killing Spree. And Killing Spree, essentially, I think everybody knows how this works by now, is that every kill you get, up to 3 kills, gives you 25% additional damage for 20 seconds. This is a standing buff that you carry within your with the weapon, so it increases the weapon's damage by 25% per kill, going all the way up to 75%. Now, you do have some options. If we quickly just jump out here, I just want to show that there are 2 mods that also additionally you can try out and that I have experimented with. I just find that oops, that's the wrong one. I just find that Killing Spree seems to be the more consistent one of the bunch. Now, you could of course go full on Glass Cannon and put something like Dark Sacrifice in there. The thing with Dark Sacrifice is the net effect, right, of the boost that your weapon gets is the same. It's 75%. The only difference is you don't need to prime the damage up by getting 3 kills before you get to your 75. So Dark Sacrifice gets you at the 75 right from the beginning of a fight. The only issue that I have with Dark Sacrifice is that Dark Sacrifice is draining your life the entire time that you have it out. And it's draining your life while you are in combat. Now, where this becomes a little bit of a stickler is when you are doing expeditions where you have to guard a certain area, because the entire time that you're guarding an area considers you to be in combat. The problem with that then comes that when you kill everything in an area and you get the shield from that, and your shield starts waning down, as it does, shield depletes by itself over time, you actually start a lot of those engagements while you're guarding an area from a low position of life. And if you take too much upfront damage at that point, you know, you don't time your hunter prey correctly, or you just get unlucky with, you know, 2 bad abilities hitting you, you can go down, and that's of course not great. I think Dark Sacrifice works better also in a co-op scenario where you don't actually mind going down, and where you can have people that can pick you up or at least draw some of the hate away from you. So again, I think it comes down to preference. I play a lot of solo, and that's why Killing Spree just seems to be more consistent for me. Both Dark Sacrifice and Killing Spree excel at putting a lot of damage on one specific target. Yes, you can spray and pray and kill stuff around you, but it also really helps you to drop down bosses like super quick. If, however, again in a co-op scenario, you want to maybe be more responsible for trash detail and dealing with lots of mobs, lots of smaller mobs, instead of basically just going after the big ones, then of course you also have Ultimate Damage Link, which is an option here. Ultimate Damage Link is going to lower your damage potential to one specific target by quite a bit, but what this is going to help you do is deal with large mob, you know, groups of enemies very effectively. So those are definitely some options. I play with Killing Spree, as I said, because I just find it to be the most consistent one, but you obviously have some options. In fact, I'm quite sure that there are some other mods that you could also still put on here that are quite good, but the point is Death Shield with Fortress and Killing Spree is what I ended up on. Now for my secondary and for my pistol and my second primary, I'm going with the Anemoy with Moaning Winds and Radiation Splash, and I'm going with my pistols with Moaning Winds and Clip Combustion. This is the standard combo, especially if you're in close proximity to enemies, because if you need that little bit of extra damage that you need to push out and you've just shot your Death Shield dry, or you know it's just not going down enough because there's only one enemy left or something like that, switching to the Anemoy, hitting them with the Moaning Winds and the Vulnerable from Radiation Splash is a great way to finish something off, or just to basically reapply another debuff and go from there. However, you'll find that when you play with this class, you are dealing so much damage that you hardly ever swap out. Also, the other point with swapping out is when you swap out, you lose your bullet buff. So it should really only be like a last resort to do. So generally, you can probably put anything on your back here that looks cool, because it doesn't really matter. You're mostly just going to be using your primary. Now, when we move over to the armor pieces, the name of the game here is bonus firepower, close range damage, and cooldown reduction. Bonus firepower, you know, explains itself. Close range damage is because this is where most of your fights are going to be from. Make no mistake, Death Shield has quite a bit of range on it, but the bottom line is you need to be fighting close range for 2 reasons. One, it's where most of your buffs are kicking in, and secondly, the Trickster, it's the innate ability of the Trickster is that anything that you kill within close range gives you shield and gives you regen. So again, that's another reason for do it. So most of your fights, 99% of your fights will be close range. Tanner's Tanner's hat happens to be one of the non-legendary or non-legendary set legendaries that actually has the perfect combination of those 3 mods that I was just talking about, or substats rather. So you have bonus firepower, close range damage, and cooldown reduction on you. It also has a super powerful mod on it by default called Stare into the Barrel, which basically increases your firepower for every enemy that's in close range. So the bigger the group of guys that you hunt the prey into, the more this stacks up to an additional 50k of firepower, which is massive. So generally, if you jump into a group of mobs where there's a captain and like 4 dudes standing around him, you can just burst that captain down so incredibly fast just because of the fact that you're getting so much additional firepower. Now in this case here, on a secondary slot, I put in Sharp Eye. Sharp Eye is just another one of those bullet add-ons that you need to be using as a mod. This basically says that when you aim down sights, you get additional firepower for every enemy that you kill, up to 3. So this is also huge. It's 16k per kill, so that's another 45, or rather 48k if you round it all the way up, of additional firepower for 20 seconds, which again is just massive. When we go over to the chest, you'll see here, so again, like I said, on all of these pieces, I'm stacking bonus firepower, close range damage, and cooldown reduction. So that goes without saying. Here I've got Geiger's Wave on here, which essentially introduces the vulnerable status to anything that your time rift hits, which basically just makes everything take 15% additional damage. This is huge and quite you know, visible whether you're using Geiger's Wave or not. It's one of the stronger mods that you can have on time rift, again just because of the fact that it's also producing a debuff, right? So anybody else that's fighting alongside you also benefits from that additional damage to the enemies. Then I also have Pain Transfer on here. Now, Pain Transfer is super cool because it's essentially like Damage Link, right? So it allows everything that's been hit by the Time Rift to basically share their weapon damage and anomaly damage. So again, just a super big addition in terms of a debuff to not just your own damage, but also people that are playing with you. When we go over to the pants, we've got Bloodlust on here. Bloodlust is killing shots, increases your firepower. Also, once again, stacking up to 3 times and on a 10-second duration. So again, just way more additional firepower. And you can see that essentially how this works is you're at your weakest when you start a fight. But as soon as you get 1, 2, 3 mobs killed, then you are basically, you know, firing on all cylinders when it comes to your firepower. And that's when you are dealing your most damage. Now, how does that mean? How should you start fights? Absolutely, probably a smart idea is to hit 1 or 2 guys, or maybe 3, and then hunt the prey behind the enemy that you want to burst down and then just hit them. Then you're going to be hitting them with the maximum amount of damage that you can deliver, especially if you've hit them with a time rift as well, and then basically hunt the prey in behind them. So that's essentially how you deliver the rotation of this. Very simple, not nearly as complicated as some of the AP rotations that we've seen in the past, but just super, you know, satisfying and also very, very effective. On here I also have my only defensive ability, which is Damage Absorber. Now of course you can use Mitigation from Death here as well. Damage Absorber just again seems to be more consistent for me, because Mitigation from Death actually needs you to get some kills before you start seeing the benefit from that additional armor. Mitigation from Death also doesn't give you resistance, where Damage Absorber gives you a flat 52, so you don't stack as high as with Mitigation from Death, but you also get 10% of resistance. And this is always active. You don't have to kill anything. When you run into a fight, you are on 107k armor already, as you can see at the top there, which basically gives you essentially 68% of physical damage reduction. Then if we go over to the gloves, I've got long range on here. Now time rift's distance of the skill by default is not very long at all. It's actually quite short. It's difficult to gauge distance in this game, but I don't think it goes out past 6 meters maybe. When you put long range on here, it triples the range of that, so this can actually fire down an entire lane. And essentially in something like Chem Plant, you can basically cover half the map with a time rift, which is huge. So it's quite possible that you can catch multiple enemies in this, anywhere between 8 to 12 enemies all in a line. And it doesn't even have to be in a line, it'll pick up some stuff along the side as well. And that just means then when you start hitting them, Pain Transfer is doing damage to all of those mobs, which is great. Then Ammo Bargain here is your first reload mechanism of this build. This says that while your Twisted Round skill is active, killing enemies replenish 20% of your magazine. So this is quite good, especially on mopping up trash, because every 2 bullets that you put into an enemy essentially gives you 3 bullets back. So as long as you're killing them. So this is a way for you to wade through, you know, trash mobs on your way to like a boss and not actually lose too many rounds. Then on the boots, we've got double time, which keeps enemies suspended in the air for, you know, twice as long. This is quite important, especially when it comes to bosses, because without this, it really feels like a boss, for instance, just goes up and goes down again. Like there's almost no time for you to, you know, hunt the prey in behind them, or for even your co-op allies to jump on them and do damage to them. So this definitely makes it feel like the skill is really keeping them suspended for quite a lot of, you know, a bit of time. And again, this is one of those mods that are very noticeable once you apply them. So try it without this and then put it on and see the difference. It's like night and day basically. And then lastly, the second reload mechanism of this build is instant reload, which teleporting instantly replenishes a magazine of your current weapon. So jumping in behind something gives you a full mag to essentially start dumping damage that, you know, on them. This is also primarily the way, so the flow of combat here is you are shooting trash, and when your bullets start eventually getting low because you're shooting stuff, you're not killing them as fast or something like that, you jump in behind something, you get a full mag, you kill, it keeps buffing up again, and then you jump in again. Now when we quickly go back to skills again, the reason why this is so effective is because we're also stacking cooldown reduction. So we have super low cooldowns. Even if your bullets goes down, you're getting it back in 15 seconds. So that's a big deal. Your time rift is also on an 8.2 second cooldown, which is ridiculous, because the point is when you hit them with the time rift, they are suspended for twice as long. So here it states that it's 3.5 seconds and inflicts weakness. So you're looking at about 6 seconds of them being in the air, and then 2 seconds after that, the next one is basically good to go again. Now, Hunter Prey here, I know that my face is a little bit in the way there, but essentially that's a 4.8 second cooldown that I have there, which is also blisteringly fast and really just get you, you know, delivering those Hunter Preys like almost the entire time. And again, this then means that with smart management of your bullets, you basically never use all of your bullets. Then last but not least, we'll go to the class tree and just quickly discuss this here. However, if you've experimented with bullet builds with the Trickster in any way, then you'll see that this is kind of like I would say the cookie cutter way of setting this up. Some highlights here, of course, as a generality. Wow, my tongue really just like went ape there. You will want to be picking up all of these nodes, which essentially either increase your weapon damage, or they increase your armor piercing, or they increase your close range damage. So this is tying back to what I said at the beginning, that so much of your class tree and your talents and, well, your mods and all of that is basically, you know, putting you towards doing everything in a close range. So again, it would be silly to try and fight from a long range with this character. You're picking up Shotgun Master for that additional shotgun damage. You have some great boost to firepower here, which essentially trigger off you using certain abilities like Time Rift, gives you an addition to your weapon damage. You also get where is it? Oh, here we go. Activating movement skills. So when you hunt a prey, you also get additional weapon damage. So there's a couple of skills that basically play off you when you move and when you use your other abilities. So just great kind of synergy there in this, you know, setup. Also, you do deal more damage when you're shooting stuff from behind. So this again just you know, accentuates the effect that you get from Hunter Prey. And also from like a co-op scenario, if you're playing with your friends, there is, you know, smartness in essentially maneuvering your way around the battlefield and hitting stuff from behind, because you're going to be dealing 20% additional damage, which is pretty big. What is really nice is you do have oddity summation on here as well, which increases your magazine size by 50%. So if you are using the death shield, you have 15 shots in the mag, which is massive. 15 shots is by you know, all means, you know, more than enough to drop something like a Broodmother, a Behemoth, or something like that with one clip. And that's if you've, you know, time rifted them or something like that. So 15 rounds is basically more than enough. And then last but not least, again, cold calculation just means that the more people that surround you, the more enemies that are in close range to you, the more your damage is increased. So you are factually not only at your most dangerous within a group of mobs, but also, you know, this is basically the best place for you to fight from out of. And that's essentially it. That's it for the build. I will leave some footage running in the background here just of me doing, I think it's a boomtown. But enjoy the build, try it out. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about it. Let me know what you think about the Trickster. I thought it was going to be my least favorite class, and it's difficult for me to say right now. If it is my least favorite class, I'm kind of still getting my head around it because it's kind of tied with another class at the moment right now. But this is certainly a very interesting way to play, and just super satisfying to, you know, just see how the shotgun with twisted rounds just tears through enemies. It's a very satisfying sound effect and all of that, and just extremely visceral. So I really do dig it, and I've had a lot of fun recording the footage for this build over the weekend and goofing around with it, and I'll probably still be playing it a bit in the coming week, maybe in a stream or something like that. So definitely come and check that out. And go ahead and subscribe to the channel if this is the kind of stuff that you like. This is what I bring in terms of Outriders content, but not just Outriders, in other games as well. Lastly, I always forget to say this, but I do have a Discord. It's linked in the description down below. Go ahead and join that growing community of not only Outriders fans, but fans of gaming as a whole. There are rooms there where you can group up and play different games if you want, and there are areas to ask questions if you have anything like that. And it's also a great way to interact with me because I'm very active on the Discord, and you'll always see me on there. But other than that, the only thing that is super important to me is that you have a fantastic morning, a great afternoon, and just like the best evening ever. And until next video, fucking cheers.